Hey everyone, welcome to Reverse Homesteading. It's another grey day, winter in Melbourne. It's pretty cold. Not sure exactly what the temperature is, I'll put it on the screen for you later. So, out here taking the frost covers off, I also had to water the plants that were under the frost covers, as I mentioned in my last video. You've got to make sure that you keep the water up to those little things, because they still need water, and the frost covers, even when they're just old sheets, they don't often let the rain through if it's been rainy, which it has. But my rosemary is pretty happy. I cut it back pretty harshly when I planted it in late autumn or fall, and it's holding its own. It has been somewhat protected by all of the red dragon fruit cuttings there, and my saffron only seems to be that one is going to give us flowers, or a flower, but that's okay. They're new, they're getting established, and I'll see what I do with them next year. Perhaps I'll keep them in pots, I'm not sure. And I'm quite surprised that my lemon balm, my lemon verbena, got lemon balm in the mini greenhouse. It's holding on, it's not going dormant. And the frost cover here sort of ends about there, but it's still enough to keep it thinking it's not so cold, which is pretty interesting, really. So I've got some seedlings, the peas I showed you the other day, and these Swedes or rutabagas. They're getting ready to be in the garden, but today I keep running into rain, so I was doing the the funny gardener thing before. I was watering things in the rain, because you never really know in Melbourne if the rain's going to start or stop, or how much you're going to get. I empty my little rain gauge, my tiny little one, compared to the massive jug that you get in the tropics. I've shown you this one before. I think it cost $10 or something. And you only get 5 mil, 3 mil, just enough to keep the ground wet. So you think, oh, it's rained, it's fine. But I don't think everything's been getting all of the rain that it needs. But that's okay, that's what we're for. The other thing I was going to show you was the carrots that I thinned out the other day. They're starting to get a decent base on them. Some of them are quite developed now. You can see that little base there happening. So they're the ones I've thinned out. These are the ones I haven't thinned out. So early results. Not a lot of difference, but these definitely aren't bulking up as much as the other ones are that have more space and more nutrients. Interesting. I like to push the boundaries in the garden, but I'm learning as time goes on it's really not a clever thing to do. Sometimes you just have to cut your losses. I was thinking also in the same way about the snow peas here. They're just struggling with the cold. The other thing I was going to show you from the same perspective is the beetroot seedlings that I had. I purchased them because the seeds of the other ones I planted in autumn or fall didn't work. A couple of times actually. And yeah, they've barely got any sign of more central leaves. Oh, that one does. It's trying to kick on. These ones were about that big when I got them, much bigger. These ones only had like 2 leaves, tiny little things, the second round when I got them from the shop. So lesson learned, at least in Melbourne, in my garden. This year it could be different next year, but yes, if I can't get my seedlings into the ground by the end of autumn, don't try. Unless they're really big and you harden them off and they're used to the weather. It seems that autumn is when everything has to be in the ground, and if you're planting from seed, don't plant seeds in autumn, at least for the varieties that I'm growing. I'm speaking to myself here, you can work out your own climate in your backyard. But I'm learning some lessons, I'm going to write them down. I have a spreadsheet for each garden, so I'm going to write down what did really well when I planted the seed, or if I planted a seedling in the raised beds, and how it did after that. Not all that good at record keeping, but at least when to plant the seed for this time of the year when it's a little bit hard to judge ahead of time with seeds what's going to happen, because the weather can affect them quite a bit even when you have a little greenhouse. So that's my thoughts for today. Plant seeds early. I also had loaned out my 4 heat pads that I have because I thought I'd only need them for tomatoes, but it would seem now that if I want to plant beetroot and anything but Swedes or mini bok choy or Asian greens like that, anything else that would usually grow through winter, they need to be, I don't know, from experience this year, about that big by the time they get planted out in the garden. And don't plant them out in winter unless you've really done some good work with hardening them off, and they'll just struggle potentially. But I'm happy to have carrots again. It was hard in the tropics to have carrots, and there are a number of other successes like the spring onions. The other onions are a bit slow, but the spring onions are doing really well over there. So that's it for today. Hope you're having fun in your garden. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.